Today, I want to have a very real, transparent conversation with you. But before I actually even go into it, I want to stop and say this. This that I'm sharing publicly is not very easy for me to share. My mother, she's still alive, thankfully. And even as a life coach, even with everything that I know that I've studied for, everything that I've walked through, I am going to remain mindful that my mother is still alive. And I need to be mindful of how my words land and what that can mean for the people in my life. Okay. Now, don't mistake my mindfulness for being weak or anything, because it's not that at all. I am mindful because it's a mature thing to do. um, Not only am I mindful, but I operate in full intuition, and those two things live together in me comfortably. So I share this because I believe someone watching this needs to see that the woman who's coaching them on YouTube all the time is not exempt from the work that I teach. I'm not exempt from what I'm telling you, or what other people go through, or the dynamics that you may be experiencing. No one is exempt from that, including me. And I am deep down, knee deep into the work of my coaching. So as of today, I want to show you right where I am with it. Now, just to give you a little bit of backstory, I started my own codependency recovery journey almost a decade ago. I'd say roughly about 9 years. And every single year I've gotten stronger. Okay. Every year, the clarity in me has sharpened, and I have understood more about different dynamics, more about myself, and definitely more about what I will and will not carry anymore. What I'm willing to carry and what I am not willing to carry. And yes, 9 years is a long time. I agree. Um, and I want you to hear me say 9 years is a long time, because I don't want you to feel like that should be discouraging. But I want you to see it as permission. I want you to see that as permission to stop expecting yourself to be finished by some certain date or time stamp when you're going through recovery. I want you to have permission to stop feeling behind on your own journey. And today I'm going to talk about the mother wound. And the mother wound does not resolve itself on a schedule. It resolves in layers, if it resolves. And every layer that you work through, it's going to build something in you that the previous layer couldn't do. And here's something that I know for certain after almost a decade of this work, not only just being a life coach for a few years, but also me putting in the work. I know that the mother wound does not disappear. Okay. I want to be honest with you about that, because I think too many people enter the journey expecting a finish line where the wound just stop existing. Like you feel like you've taken some courses or you read a book and then it's just going to be over. And that's not the case. That is not what happens to you. What happens is you change. Yeah, you grow. You start developing the capacity to carry the truth of what has happened to you, or maybe what is happening to you now. And you carry it without being destroyed by it. And what I mean by that is that you start developing the wisdom to see the dynamics of that wound very clearly without having any rage or grief or just losing yourself in it. Now, I am a certified life coach specializing in codependency recovery, and I still have a mother wound. There are therapists with PhDs on their walls who still have mother wounds too. Having the mother wound does not qualify me from doing the work in helping others. It actually qualifies me even more. It means that I get to speak from the experience that's inside of me and what I've gone through as I'm relating it to you. So today I am going to speak to you from deep down inside of that. Now, before I go any further, I want to make something very clear, and this is very important because I think this conversation gets narrowed too quickly, and when it gets narrowed, it leaves people out. This is what you need to hear about the mother wound. The mother wound is not one specific type of mother, okay? It's not a diagnosis of one specific thing. It is not something that just, one type of person experience. I couldn't think of what I was going to say, but the mother wound is an emotional, it's an emotional pain. It's like it's broken trust. It's unmet need that a child carries into adulthood because of what their mother could not give them. And the reason a mother cannot give what her child needs are wide and varied based on the individual, the culture, the circumstances. There's so many reasons, okay? I'm not going to even try to go into listing them because that's not what this video is about. But some mothers are emotionally unavailable, okay? They're depressed. They're full of grief. They don't want to be cruel. They're just exhausted. They have their own unprocessed pain. They are physically present there for you, but emotionally, they're unreachable. And a lot of times, children learn early to need less and to ask for less and to take up less space. And as I was saying this, I was just thinking about myself because I can relate to that. Now, there are mothers out there that carry some deep anxiety and they pass those fears directly to their children. I I feel like that could have been the direction I was headed into had I not taken the bull by the horns and said, whoa, 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 you got too many things going on here. Some mothers, they hold on so tight because the world never felt safe for them and the world never felt safe for me. So their children grow up second guessing their own instincts and they're afraid to move too freely or want too much. Now, just to keep with this, there are some mothers who are just consumed by different addictions or severe mental health struggles that literally leave no room for consistent nurturing because they're struggling mentally. They got so much going on. And when they have children, their children learn that survival means they have to manage that chaos that their mother's going through or manage the parent and be managing the environments that they're in, and caretaking becomes their identity before they even know what it is that they're doing. It becomes a part of it. They're so used to it, it becomes a part of their life. They really don't have one because they become the parent. And yes, there are abusive mothers out there too. Abusive, neglectful mothers shaped by their own trauma, stuff that they're going through, their own unaddressed wounds. And the children from those mothers, they absorb that damage, whether they ever understand the source of where it's coming from or not. And also, I want to mention that some mothers, um, they have love with conditions. And again, this is where I can relate with my own mother wound. They have conditions attached to everything. The affection they give is when something goes right that the child does. The child performed correctly for them, so they're happy, or the pride is extended when of the child makes that mother look good. And it's a dynamic that I learned as a child very quietly. I was learning to manage my mother's emotional world instead of the other way around, where the child own thoughts and feelings and separate identity. It never gets to fully exist. So I was always trying to be who I thought I needed to be, the approved version of who she wanted me to be, pretty much. So yeah, I want to be transparent with you. I do. And but before I go any further, let me say this. This is another disclaimer. I have to put these out here, guys, because I know just from some of the comments and things people say sometimes these disclaimers are important. I am a certified life coach. I am not a licensed therapist or a psychologist, and I do not diagnose mental health conditions, okay? So when I have messages about patterns and different things, it's because I've read about them, I've studied them. Certain dynamics between mothers and their children, some of what I have read, it feels familiar to me, but I can't diagnose what it is because I'm not in that arena. But I can say, yes, it resonates with my experience, but that does not mean I can name what my mother is or is not. But what I can name is what I have lived, and that is what I'm going to talk about here. Now I'm ready to talk about it. Now, I want to address this. I don't think it gets talked about enough in so many in a lot of the conversations, and I'm going to actually start talking about it a little bit more. And I'm going to be very careful here because I don't have any interest in dismantling or dismissing anyone's their faith or their relationship with God, source, however you guys reverence the higher power. I don't, I'm respectful of all of it for everyone, okay? That is not what this message is. It's not to deface anything. But I have to be honest about how religion and culture have been used. And sometimes it's deliberate and sometimes it's unconsciously, but it's being used as tools of control inside of so many psychological dynamics. For one thing, I know you guys have heard honor thy mother and thy father, right? How many of you have heard that scripture and have had it handed to you like it was a weapon? And if you could see me, I would be raising my hand right now. I want to know how many of you have been made to feel that setting a boundary with your parent, it was a sin, or that choosing yourself over their comfort was like a violation of something sacred. Almost like your obedience to your parent was how you were measured in your faith. It was almost like that was your evidence that you loved God if you allowed them to, if you just became selfless and just lived on their remote control and let them just direct your entire life, what to think, eat, drink, how to live, how to breathe, who to talk to, who not to talk to. And of course, yes, as children, we need that foundation, but our lives are our lives. It's been given to us to live out our own destiny. So just think about those questions. I grew up in that. I don't know about anybody else, but I grew up in that, and I understand it. I get it. And here's what I want you to know though. And this is something that it took time for me to understand, to get away from all of the religious manipulation. Now, I'm not saying that I don't have beliefs. I'm talking about some of the manipulation that is used with some people, how they use religion to manipulate you. I had to learn that God did not design me to self-abandon myself. He didn't design me to self-abandon. He didn't design you to self-abandon. God did not design you to lose your identity at the feet of another human being, even including the human being who gave birth to you. You know, that version of honoring your parents that requires you to completely disappear, be selfless, have no identity, just exist for them, and to be controlled or subservient to them, and to put their comfort permanently above your own personhood. That is not divine design. That is not. That is man-made. That is cultural conditioning, wearing scripture as clothing. Okay? Codependency, it thrives in that kind of environment. It wraps itself in the language of sacrifice and devotion, and it calls itself, oh, holy, holy, holy. And generations of people, particularly women, particularly in cultures where the parent is treated as the highest virtue, have literally handed themselves over completely because they were told that God required it. And when I tell you this resonates with me, this is me, I'm really talking to you about me. This is how I felt. But just know he does not. You can love your mother and still have boundaries. You can honor your parents, your guardian, your mima, whoever's taking care of you, and still be a whole person existing in your true identity. Heck, you can even respect someone and still refuse to be controlled by them. Faith and self-worth are not opposites. They were never meant to be opposites. So they coexist. And let me tell you something about navigating a mother wound in public, because I want to, this video is getting a little bit longer than I expected, but I got to speak on this. The people on the outside do not see what you see, okay? They can't, because what you're dealing with has been carefully constructed to stay invisible to everybody except you. She has told her story. She has created her facade. She has this image that she's holding up. She's built her reputation. And doing so, she has bragged about you to some people. Maybe, maybe not. But just for my sake and my story and what I deal with my mother wound, excuse me, she has bragged about you to people who love her. Okay. She has called you her sweetheart, her dumpling, her everything. Oh, she's just my greatest joy, whatever the case may be. And those people have watched her just light up when she talks about you, or even when she talks about me. They've watched that. So in them, they've seen her warmth and, oh, the pride and devotion that she has. And she just clearly adores being a mother to you as and having you as her child or her son or her daughter. She just loves it. But the moment you go and you open your mouth and you try to describe to somebody your actual experience, they look at you like you're crazy. They start shifting and thinking, well, what the heck are you talking about? Because the woman you are describing to them does not match the woman that they know. And because you played the role of this loving, devoted child for so long without speaking out because you were conditioned to, hence I was conditioned to, for the sake of keeping the peace or just showing up and just maintaining the facade, because the cost of breaking it just feel like it's just too much. So you helped to make that performance look real. Everybody on the outside looking, they're like, oh my gosh, you ever seen couples and you're like, oh my gosh, they are just the most beautiful couple? Well, it's the same thing with this. The smoke and the mirrors. The smoke and mirrors. I always get that wrong when I say that. My friends always pick at me, and here I am trying to use it again. The smoke and mirrors. I don't know why I want to say the smoke and the mirrors, but it's something I always butcher. But yeah, that's what that is. It's a mirage. Think of it like that. You know those moments like when you're driving down the road on a hot day and you see what looks like water just shimmering on the pavement ahead of you, and then you drive towards and then it disappears, and it was just never there. It was just light and heat and just creating the illusion of something real in the street like water, but it wasn't actually water. That is what certain wounding mother dynamics look like from the outside. It looks like water. It looks like nourishment. And you drive toward it your entire life, and you just keep watching it disappear every time you get close enough to just touch it or get close. It just starts just going away. And the people watching from the outside, they don't see that part. All they do is just see you driving up the road. They don't see the mirage. They just see you driving. They don't never see that, the mirage that you see. And this is another thing that keeps so many people stuck in the dynamic of the mother wound long after they know that, this is not going to work out. I'm one that has been dealing with the mother wound forever, and I know that I have it has worn its welcome with me. And for so many people, long after the clarity have arrived and long after they've done enough work to see the pattern clearly, they realize too, I've been stuck in this dynamic too long. Think of it like a sprinkle. Okay, I try to give you guys some examples. Imagine you've been walking through a desert. It's so hot, you're so parched, and your throat is dry, your lips are cracked. You haven't had any water in so long. You've almost passed out. You haven't been hydrated. You're dehydrated. And then someone walks up to you and they put a few ounces of water in you. Hey, here's a little bit of water, drink this. It's not even a half a bottle of water. It's just a few swigs, okay? Not a glass of water. They're not laying you out by a stream and say, hey, cool off, drink as much as you want. They're just giving you just a little tad bit, just enough to feel the moisture going down your throat. Okay? That's what I want you to think about in the context of everything that I'm talking about right now. It's that little sprinkle, a moment of warmth, a phone call where mom will just pick up the phone and call and say, hey, how you doing? I was thinking about you. I just thought I'd call and see how you doing. Or maybe you'll get like a rare expression of pride, or maybe they'll just buy you something. They may say, hey, I see you struggling trying to pay this bill. Here's $200. Let me help you out with that. Any little thing. And because you are so parched for a real, healthy, emotionally safe relationship with your mother, you accept it. You're so excited to have just that little swig of mothering. You get caught up in that. And that little swig convinces you that this is the real thing and it's so good because you're parched. And you fall for it every time. Let me replace that with me. I've fallen for it every single time. But I want you to know, I'm not standing here having mastered this thing completely, okay? That's why I'm sharing this with you. That's why I'm being transparent and letting you see where I'm at right now. I've been in the desert, okay? I know what those little drops of water feels like when they land on me. And I know the way hope surges up in me, or maybe up in you, before your mind can catch up to it. That little swig or those little few ounces of water is designed to do exactly that. It is the breadcrumb. And if you don't know what breadcrumb is, Google breadcrumbing. It's just enough to keep you from walking away completely or going no contact. It's just enough that it's going to help you reset the clock on your patience, or make you think, well, maybe this is different. Maybe this time is different. Maybe she's changing. Maybe things are getting better between us. Maybe I was wrong. I went through this Christmas time. These were the exact thoughts I had Christmas time. I promise you, 2 weeks later, it was thrown out the window. But let me share this with you. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. She's not changing. It's not different. You're just now recognizing the sprinkle for what it is, that little ounce of water, that little swig. You're starting to see it for what it really is. And now you get to see it without the bitterness. And you just got clarity. It's so clear now. And that is one of the most powerful moves you can make on this journey. And that's where I'm at. I can see clearly now. One of the songs that come to my mind is, I can see clearly now. I'm not going to say anymore because I don't want them taking my page down for humming that little tune. But yeah, I'm at full capacity, guys. I am at full capacity. There's no rage. There's no resentment with me. I have done enough work to move beyond the resentment because I've been there. I think resentment required me to keep drinking the poison and waiting for her to feel it, and they're not going to feel it. And even though I understand where she comes from, I understand her background and the world that she grew up in and all of the suppressions that she lived under. I know, I see the way that she was shaped by forces that didn't have nothing to do with me. It was hard for her growing up in the low country of South Carolina. I see her as a human being who is carrying her own wounds and wounds that she never got the tools or the permission to address. I get it. But I'm still at full capacity. It does not mean I'm supposed to just accept it. I am at full capacity. And understanding someone does not obligate you to absorb unlimited amount of mistreatment or disrespect or alienation, emotional alienation. It does not mean you have to absorb it. You can have compassion and boundaries at the same time. Wisdom and having limits, they can sit at the table together. I have been the mature one in this dynamic for so long, for as long as I can remember. The one who was always rescuing her from the decisions that she made. I had to suffer the consequences of it. Or the one who managed, the one who smoothed things over and covered the consequences of her actions, And that chapter is closing because I am at full capacity at this point. It's not from the wound that I'm closing this, it's from the wisdom at this point. It is from 9 years of recovery work that has brought me to a place of clarity so settled that performing now, I can't do it. It's impossible. That old role does not fit me anymore. I've grown out of it. And I'm not putting myself last. I refuse to do that. I have done it for so long, making sure everybody else okay. I'm not doing that. I'm not sitting back. I'm not placing someone else first above my own well-being anymore because I finally understand that my mother will not prioritize me. Therefore, I must do it for myself. Now, I want to leave you with this. This conversation is not finished. What I am navigating right now, this particular chapter of my mother wound journey, it has a next moment that I am not ready to just expose just yet. There are situations right now that is testing everything that I have just said to you. That's why I wanted to make this video. Everything that I know, everything that I've built, everything that I've studied, everything that I've created, it is being tested. And I'm going to walk through it as Coach Valerie. I'm not going to walk through it as a wounded daughter or not as a rescuer or keeper of peace or any of that stuff. I am going to walk through it as Coach Valerie. And I'm going to be the woman I have spent 9 years becoming. I am going to let you see it. I promise you that when the time is right. I'm going to bring you into what looks like healing. And I'm going to explain to you how it comes about. I'm going to bring it to you. Trust me. Just allow me to do it in my time because as I addressed you earlier in the beginning of this, I have to be cautious of how words land because even though this is my life and my platform, everything has consequences. So I want to make sure that as I speak, I do it from a place of wisdom. Um, but yeah, I'll let you in on it. And I believe you deserve to see what the work and the growth, and the hard moments look like, even after almost a decade of recovery. So stay close. This is not the end of the conversation. And if anything that I shared today landed somewhere real for you, if you recognized yourself in the desert, that I was talking about, or the sprinkle of the water, the ounces, the swigs of water, or just in the exhaustion of being the mature person for someone who never returned that energy to you, I want you to know that you don't have to figure out the next step alone. I am a certified professional life coach specialized in codependency recovery. I done told you guys that about a million times. Oh, and yeah, my certification, it gave me the tools. My lived experience gives me the language. And I offer two different ways that I can work with you to help deal with this. So yeah, just, yeah, the information, if you were interested, all of my details, it lives in the description. So just look there. You'll see everything there. You've been parched a long time. I know that you have. If you stayed with me through this entire message, you've been parched as well. So come and do the work with me. Let's make it work together. And always remember, it's not rejection, it's alignment. I'm Coach Valerie, and I'll talk to you later.